Hello everyone, my name is Mhakey and welcome everybody to the weekly segment called the Mhakey News of the Week, sponsored by absolutely nobody. So let's just get into it. So the LCS decided to kick off with the 4 best of 3s across 2 days. And we'd like to thank Mark Z for actually doing this, even though you did this 6 years late, of course, into the business. But, best of 3s across days, that's good enough for now. And pretty much the last time I'm going to have it because America's going to move in, so yeah. This was the first one game will be like FlyQuest. It's FlyQuest versus Team Liquid, and this game is for the Battle of the Bag. And if you don't know what that means, please seek counseling or primary read information from James Fudge or something. More on that later. The defending champions beat FlyQuest 2-1, but it's not a great series to watch. There were a lot of helter-skelter. Listen, let's be honest, it's just first week, new patch and everything. Then again, not live patch and all the kind of stuff. And it just felt helter-skelter, of course. It feels more Clown Fiesta than a Clown Fiesta, of course. Not a great series to be myself. If you're an I Will Dominate fan, you kind of love this. But for me, personally, as a League of Legends fans, not much. Second match of the day was the Cloud9 did a task game. It ended 2-1 the same way. I think this is a really interesting game. I think TL beating FlyQuest was not much of a surprise, given that FlyQuest have a new player in Quad and TL are the defending champion, so I expected them to win. I feel like the Cloud9 did a task game was probably my best game to watch because I think these are the two close teams that I believe they can challenge a top 3 place in the LCS. And I think Data Taz have the squad with Licorice and Jensen in there. And I think this is a really close series. It ended 2-1 in Cloud9, so the team that I expected to win was Cloud9, and the deserving and Berserkers was MVP of that series. So that pretty much makes sense. But I feel like right now, based on the series that is looked for, I think this is going to be a really close LCS again. This will be a really close LCS. The second day, it brought lots of 2-0s, 100 Thieves and Immortals take care of Energy and Shopify Rebellion respectively. 100 Thieves look like more interesting teams. Immortals are a really fun team. I'm going to look at the Immortals team. It's Castle, Amaru, Maz, Tactical, and Ole. Pretty decent teams, of course. Pretty decent players, of course, in a team like this. So, Immortals are doing well. 100 Thieves are doing well. We're not going to look at the table. It's just early days. All the teams have won are 1-0. All the teams that lost are 0-1. So, it is what it is. Moving over to the LPL. But before we get to the LPL, let me just break myself. Sorry about that. Drag in, rewind, take it back. The LCS Finals Championship, will be taking place from the September 6th to the 7th. This is according to the Fudge Factor, James Fudge. Thank you for following me on X, by the way. This is taking place at the YouTube Theater in LA. Now, I'm going to say this. Now, this place is taking place at around the SoFi Stadium. So, bad news is it's in LA. The good news is it's not in the studio. So, at least it's kind of like an upgrade, I guess. A small upgrade, not a big upgrade, of course. But the fact that the LCS Championship is taking place in the YouTube Theater in LA, it's a little bit of a step up, I guess. But it's probably the last stands for the LCS because, as y'all know, CBLOL and LLA, as I mentioned before, is going to be merged together. And I think this is going to be it's going to be a weird time for them. It's going to be a weird time. Let me just tell you something. Let me just go off the trails. It almost feels like the LCS is making decent decisions for the first time in years, considering that the LCS is probably going to die off and be merged by their other regions, huh? It just feels like they're making decent decisions for the sake of decent decisions. I wonder what that is. It's the bag. Okay, I see what you mean. Alright. Let's move over to the LPL. The LPL sees BLG and Top Esports, the top 2 teams from the LPL, advance to the next stage of the LPL, which is not like the bracket stage, but it's going on to the Rumble stage, which is the Group Ascend and Group Nevada. By the way, RNG is going to be in there as well. So none of the teams are eliminated, but they're going to the next stage in which stronger teams place in the stronger stage and the weaker teams place in the weaker stage. So BLG and Top Esports both 4-0, looking pretty good as well. BLG just this morning just beat WE, and I think they're looking like a pretty decent team. They're not like the same dominant team that they once were, but right now I feel like BLG and Top Esports are locked in top 2 for Worlds, of course, as well as JDG if they could take care of their business in Group A, of course. Anyone's Legend has become like the big storyline. Now, I'm going to tell you about Anyone's Legend, of course. So Anyone's Legend was formerly of Rogue Warriors, of course, which was a pretty bad team, to be honest. Rogue Warriors are a pretty bad team. And then, of course, they changed to Anyone's Legend, and they were fine, but they were never like a decent, good team in some of the cases. But then came LPL Summer this year, and holy cow, they look like they're gonna cook. They look like they're going to cook. Let me look at the team. Let me say the team: Ale, Croco, Shanks, Hope, and Kyle. That feels like a good team. I wonder who coached this team. I wonder who their coach. Let me just look at the staff. Tabe. Okay, let me just look what Tabe is right now. Let me just look who's Tabe is. Oh, so Tabe was a Hong Kong coach who used to coach for BLG. The same BLG team that managed to make runners-up in the last year's MSI. Okay, so you got a pretty good coach with some pretty good, decent players, and the fruits of the labor shows. They're 4-1 in their group. Now, the group is only 5 teams, of course, so make that as you will. But to see Anyone's Legends on top of the standings against, not so much great teams like Ultra Pride, NIP. NIP is good. NIP is decent, but not okay. But to see Anyone's Legends becoming like the de facto dark horse of the LPL, and I'm not saying they're like winning the LPL or something, like BLG and Top Esports stuff. But I see Anyone's Legends kind of like threatening the establishment, like getting big wins against BLG, getting big wins against Top Esports. Consider that this next stage is going to be single round robin, which means you're gonna have to face these 2 teams once or some other teams once. And I think if Anyone's Legends can win games against BLG or Top Esports, then maybe I feel like, hey, maybe they can do something in there. I have Anyone's Legends outside of my prediction for like going to Worlds, but if they can keep playing like this, and listen, you gotta understand that we're not gonna be in the fearless draft session, of course. The next stage is gonna be like standard draft, of course. So lots of changes to be made, of course, and I think they got benefited from the fearless draft, of course. But if they can play with this kind of flexibility and this kind of style with Tabe's coaching, I feel like right now that Anyone's Legends could be good enough to make it to Worlds. Not saying win the LPL, but good enough to make it to Worlds. So they have been a really surprising team. So yeah, really lots of stuff in LPL. Early days, of course, but we get a little bit of clarity right now with the LPL in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see that. The LCK gets started, and let's just say that Genji are top of the LCK standings. And for those who don't know, I've been listening a little bit to the Monty and Wolf show that is on Last Free Nation. And I have to tell you, man, the sense from Wolf, who by the way is an LCK caster, is a little bit of fear. Like, let me just tell you something about the LCK right now. You notice that the changes to the League of Legends structure is applied to like, the LCS and the APAC region and all kind of stuff, but and maybe the EMEA, of course, it's probably going to affect that as well. But the LCK is going to have a major crisis in their hands. Like, you have to factor in like Genji T1, that even though it wasn't a great game in my standard, wasn't a quality good game, have 1 million viewers, not Chinese viewers in grand schemes. And the LCK Spring Finals was one of the best LCK Spring Finals of all time in terms of production and viewership and all that kind of stuff. So when you factor in all of that and consider that there's a new 3-split system, it's kind of making me feel like if you're the LCK, it's kind of how to prepare for this. They don't know what kind of format, how many teams going to be dropped by. They're probably going to drop 2 teams, or they're probably going to bring in teams from the other Challengers League, like back in the day when Griffin and Down One Gaming were coming up to the league. They managed to challenge them and actually beat them and managed to go to Worlds, of course. So there was a lot of fear around the LCK parts of that next year is going to be like a different time for the LCK, of course. And a really difficult time for the LCK, of course. Now, listen, the LCK is fine money-wise and all that kind of stuff, but it's kind of like they're not help, and it feels like Riot themselves, the developers themselves, are not helping themselves, not helping the Korean teams, getting the stipend and all kinds of stuff. So I can feel in Wolf's voice right now, and it's probably like other Korean casters, of course. But I just have that fear of like the LCK is going to change next year, and what will happen to the 3-split system? Like if Gen G, and let me just put Gen G in there, wins 2025 in the first split. Are they going to become the 6-time champions? Or are they going to be like, they're going to be the most decorated team? Is this going to be like G2 winning like 3 splits and they're going to add in the different splits from the one they won? So like, it's kind of confusing to me. And how will they do it for like, studio stage finals or open stage finals? How did they do it? Like, I know Korea is going to have some big ass studio finals and all kinds of stuff. They always do that, of course. But I want to see what the LCK will be like with the 3-stage system, and if they can host some of the big stage finals with the cost that'll happen. And you have to understand, like, casters costs are gonna be less. Teams are losing money because of it. And remember, Riot's gonna have that global revenue, which means less teams to feed, more money for others. So there's gonna be a lot of uncertainty going on with the LCK right now. But for now, for the present day, let's talk about how good Gen G are. In fact, we don't have to talk about how good Gen G are because we already know Gen G is good. They won MSI, for God's sakes. They beat T1 2-0. It wasn't the best matchup, of course. Like, I feel like right now Gen G are kind of like the most dominant team ever. And we haven't even talked about the 14.2 patch that's coming up. That's gonna make Gen G so powerful right now. Then I'm gonna say this right now. I'm gonna say this at the top of my lungs. Gen G is going to go 18-0, guys. Gen G is going to go 18-0. But Akeem, they're probably going to lose a game or two. Yeah, of course. Listen, it's regular season. Gen G is probably going to lose a game or two. But I feel like Gen G are good enough and dominant enough to make it feel like, I'm just going to say Boston Celtics like. I'm going to do a shout out to Boston Celtics, of course, and my other sports that I watch outside of League of Legends later on. But I feel like Gen G is going to make this like the Boston Celtics of the LCK right now. Boring, not that kind of watchable, but probably the better team won, the most dominant team won. They beat FRX and T1 respectively. The Freaks, the Afrika Freaks. Oh, sorry, Quandon Freaks, 2018 brain. They are looking decent with Leaper as their new bot laner, and they are 2-0 and they're looking pretty good. Zeri get a pentakill. Oh no, Mhakey, Zeri got a pentakill. She's back. No, guys, it's okay, man. She's not. At least she's not playing with Yumi. That make me more nauseated. KT looks awful right now. Breon looks more like crap right now. DRX or whatever. It's early days in the LCK, but it kind of feels like you got your Gen G, T1, maybe Honda Life Esports, but Honda Life is looking like shaky, of course. And if Freaks can do well, if Freaks can keep up this level, of course with a different patch, but if you can keep up with this level, I feel like they could be up there, of course. And they got 50 feet of crap right down there. So that's pretty much how the LCK hierarchy is going to look like right now. For the LEC right now, you notice that the LEC is not going to run 3 days a week. It's going to be like one super week, and then you're going to like 2 days a week. Like, I noticed that I never got my LEC highlights from yesterday, so I was thinking what's going on, and then I look at Liquipedia, and then I realized they're doing like 2 days a week for the rest of the split, and I like, all right, then I kind of give up. Anyways, Fnatic advanced to the bracket stage, defeated an undefeated SK Gaming, the formerly undefeated SK Gaming, 5-0. G2 bounced back, being Rogue and Giant X. I mean, Rogue and Giant X, not my comfortable team, but hey, listen, G2 need a bounce back. They need a bounce back so badly. Mad Rogue and Giant X are kind of like fighting for uncrappy positions to be less crappy, I guess. BDS are looking great, but then again, having 2 Koreans in your team is actually the reason why you're doing great. Ask Fnatic how that worked out. Can I say something about the LEC right now? So, while Fnatic are doing well right now, I am not ready to jump on Fnatic saying they're the best team in the LEC. I know Hysterics, and by the way, Hysterics is casting the LEC right now, which is weird. But then again, so does the nature of the league so does the nature of esports right now. Hysterics is declaring Fnatic the best team in the LEC. It's like, Hysterics, I like you. You're a good brother to me. You're a great caster and all. I'm not saying great caster. You're a decent caster and all the kind. But saying Fnatic are the best team in the world at 5-0 when G2 esports is still breeding, it's just farce. Until Fnatic beat G2 in a best of 3 or best of 5 series, especially in the final, then I'm not calling Fnatic the best team in LEC. I'm not ready to do that. Beat G2 and then we'll call it, okay? And I'm not talking about like beating G2 in regular season form. I'm talking about beating G2 in best of 3, best of 5 form with Dylan Falco have the draft brain in his head. And with good players like Caps and Mhakey X and sometimes Hans Sama right now. Okay, yeah, G2 are kind of iffy on the early game. But when it comes to mid-game and late-game macro decisions, that's what they're good at. So can you do that? Can you beat G2 in an early game long enough to make sure they can beat them? If you can do that, yes. But if they don't, that's pretty much on you. So right now, I just feel like right now, I'm not calling Fnatic the best team in the LEC. Everybody knows that G2 is going to win the LEC. Even I declare that G2 is going to win the LEC. And we're going to see how it goes come bracket time. Because, of course, we got like 2 more weeks of best of ones remaining for the season, for the split. And then we're on to the bracket stage with best of 3, best of 5. And then we'll know which team can cook and which team are not. So, let's look at some other news not related to the big names of the League of Legends space. Let's go to the LCK Challengers. 3 teams are leading in the LCK Challengers at 2-0, early days, of course, and there'll be games playing today at the time of recording, but T1, D+, and KT Roster are on top. Meanwhile, shifting over to the NACL, we like to congratulate a team, of course, from the NACL, Dragonsteel. They get their first NACL win, being FlyQuest NZXT20. Rock Boom is the MVP. Now, two things right now. One, nobody broadcasts in the NACL, and you know what? Good riddance. Nobody even care about the NACL. Not disrespecting any players, the talent, of course, but nobody covers that, so ugh. Secondly, Dragonsteel are kind of like in a collaboration with the Maryville University team, that I mentioned last week, that finished runners-up in Boise against St. Louis University in the collegiate tournament. Now they got a team that is collaborating with one of the best collegiate League of Legends team ever, and it's like, well, damn, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for Dragonsteel, of course. Other news, of course, other results from the NACL, of course, is Supernova beating CCG Esports 2-1. FearX Starforge beat Disguised Toes 2-0. FearX Starforge is another collaboration team with the Cincinnati Fear, of course. So, another collaboration there. And Team Liquid Challengers beat AOE Esports 2-0. So, to the EMEA regions, of course, to the EMEA Masters regions, of course, the Super regions. Schalke are the new leaders of the Prime League with an 8-2 record, and they're 1 game ahead of Eintracht Frankfurt Spador in the Austrian Force. TBS are 7-1 in the LFL after 4 weeks. Rambo Cub are still undefeated at the Super League at 8-0, and the two teams ahead of them are Esports, or Boston Esports. In fact, 2 games ahead of Boston Esports, and Misa Esports are still top of the CSCL after 3 weeks ahead of Boostgate Esports and Supermassive. Over on to the CBLOL, Fluxo is ahead of the CBLOL split standings after 3 weeks. Icarus and Rainbow 7 are leading early in days of the LLA closing. Now, in order to understand the LLA format right now, which is a mess, they decided to do best of 2, which is actually like the friendlier version of best of 1, but the worst version of like best of 3s, like best of 2s, like disgusting. Don't worry, Akeem, we don't have to worry about that next year. We don't have to worry about all of that next year. We don't have to worry. So since they don't have like a point system, of course, I'm gonna go to the assumption of like you win 2-0, you get 2 points, you get 3 points. 1-1 gets you 1, and 0 gets you none. So both of these teams are tied at 4 points each in the early going, of course. And the VCS decided to do 7 teams instead of 8 because of the whole match fixing scandal and a lot of transfer news. Like, good God Almighty! Listen, I'm not gonna tell you all the transfer news, but if you go to Wikipedia, the amount of transfer news that I see from like the VCS, it's massive right now. And of course, you know, VCS is probably gonna be dead next year, but wow, this is a lot of shakeup in the VCS, of course. But I still have GAM Esports to win right now, so I think that means that I have to change my pick for the video that I made about the predictions about all the teams, because now the VCS is going to be back. I'm going to go GAM Esports and let's just throw Team Wales again. That's going to be my prediction, so I'll be putting up right there and maybe make some changes. So, first of all, congratulations to the Boston Celtics, winners of, let's say it again, 18 NBA championships. Now, I have to say this, the NBA Finals was kind of like a meh to me. It was meh. It was not fun, of course. There were blowouts. In fact, game 4 was a big blowout, of course. It was a really big blowout. And I was thinking to myself, okay, Celtics are in trouble. They got absolutely kicked. Nope, they just beat them by 20 points, and that was it. To put this in context of how dominated it is, they are the first ever team to go from regular season champions and NBA champions since Warriors in 2017. That was the Kevin Durant team. They win 80 games, of course, and of the 80 games they have, 50 of the 80 wins they have, 50 are by 20 points or more. They won 50 of the 101 games by 20 points or more. That is domination. I mean, yeah, they're boring, but they're the kind of boring. They're like the Scotty Scheffler kind of boring. Boring in personality, but winning anyways. Joe Mazzulla did an incredible job. Brad Stevens with a great management, of course. And, of course, all this kind of stuff. So, big tip of the hat to the Boston Celtics and their organization. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I mean, all the people just saying, break up the duo, all the kind of stuff. It's the same thing with, like, T1. Like, last year, everybody expected T1 to break up the roster and all that kind of stuff. And bring in new players to the course. No, they stick together, even though many of the community don't like it. They stick together, and look at them. They won worlds last year. Same thing with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Everybody expected them to break up, all the kind of stuff, and then lo and behold, they won the whole thing. They won the whole thing together. Jaylen Brown, MVP of the finals, well deserved. Best player offensively and defensively. Al Horford, hey, the brother finally got a chip. Good for him. Good for him. Drew Holiday, best defender, of course, now 2-time champion. Derek White got a chip too, of course, but he's not a champion, so who cares? Porzingis coming through all those injuries and all kind of stuff to become champion. He's gonna have surgery, but hey, listen, if he's gonna be like fully healthy and be like the main centerpiece of the Celtics championship next year. And Jason Tatum right now, holy cow, Jason Tatum is on cloud freaking 9 right now. He's not only a champion right now, he finally got the monkey off his back after all these years. But he's gonna get paid like 5 years, $350 million. Like, what the hell? Oh, brother is good right now. I mean, he doesn't care about MVPs, all that kind of stuff. But the guy's getting paid. Like, holy cow, this is a huge thing. A huge thing for them. So, Boston Celtics fans, if you're listening right now, I wanted to congratulate you on your championship success. And sympathies for the Dallas Mavericks. I think Doncic is going to get there. He's probably the best player, of course, in the NBA, and he deserves his flowers. But he's got to work on his conditioning. He's got to work on his defense. He did well. He did absolutely well, but he's kind of like, he's not there yet. And that's fine, you know. You got to look at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They made it to the finals last year. They made it to the finals 2 years ago, and they got clapped by an experienced team in the Warriors. It's the same thing here. You got clapped by an experienced team in the Celtics, who finally got over the hump. And now they're looking like they can run it back and become the best team in all the NBA. Even make the Eastern Conference look boring. Like, yeah, there was lots of injuries, of course, but the Boston Celtics were the most dominant team in all the NBA. Offensively, defensively, all this kind of stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter who's coming out of the West. Nobody can beat the Celtics team. Nobody. In fact, look at the series right now. 4-1, 4-1, 4-0, 4-1. Domination across the board. Pretty big stuff. So, big congratulations. So, yeah, I think Doncic will get fine. I think Kyrie Irving kind of redeemed himself from all the hoopla, of course, and he become a decent player, but he can't even beat Boston in Boston. He can't even beat Boston in Boston. 0-8 in Boston. Can't beat the allegations. Derek Lively was good. GM did some great decisions. Jason Kidd coached his heart out, of course. And there could be a lot of decisions, of course, but consider how the West is kind of stacked up right now, I think it'd be hard enough to get through and make it back again. But if it can be better, and if Dodge can be better, I feel like they'll be better enough, and they'll be going to the finals, of course. So big congratulations to both teams, of course, but mostly Boston Celtics are becoming the most decorated NBA team ever. Suck it, Lakers. Even though I'm not a fan of this team, of course. Anyways, another congratulations to Bryson DeChambeau, who is the U.S. Open champion. Now, Akeem, why are you mentioning golf in your stuff? Golf is not a big sport, but ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know how Bryson DeChambeau won, oh boy, McElroy fans, I know you're gonna hate me for this, but you better shield your eyes, man. So, I watched the finale of the U.S. Open, and when Roy McIlroy was coming in at the 15th tee with about 2-shot lead, I was like, okay, guys, we're ready for McIlroy to finally win a major after all these years. This is probably the biggest moment of his career. All these years, all the failures and all that kind of stuff. He's finally gonna do it. He's finally gonna win a major, and it's kind of like, yeah, but my dad, who, by the way, happy Father's Day to him, belated Father's Day to all of you guys. I mean, me and him have an argument to saying that McElroy might choke and all this kind of stuff, but I told him, yeah, listen, I'm gonna prove you wrong. We're gonna prove you wrong. And then, oh my God, he laid an egg. He laid an absolute egg. Bogey at the 15th, missed 2-foot putt in the 16th, par 17th, missed 3 feet at the 18th. Like, brother, how can you choke like that? I see chokes being magnified to the lesser extent, but this has to be the biggest choke of probably all time for him. Like, of all the chokes that have happened, like the Open when Cameron Smith won the tournament years ago and all this kind of stuff, this has to be the biggest choke ever in front of hundreds of people. Like, I mean, listen, I know McElroy is not, listen, he's like, well, Akeem, he shouldn't talk to the media, of course, but after seeing this, listen, I screamed when that happened. Like, yeah, I disturbed my mother, and my mom doesn't like it, but I screamed when that happened. But how do you miss? How do you miss that putt from 3 feet? How do you miss that putt from 2 feet? You were 456 out of 456 out of 2 feet this year. This was a gimme. And it makes Bryson DeChambeau's decision pretty much easy. Now, let me talk about Bryson DeChambeau. Now, listen, I am from the YouTube space. Now, I haven't watched a lot of Bryson DeChambeau YouTube, but he has a good personality. He engaged with the fan. He had the whole fan base, having them touch the trophy. And it makes me want to wonder, Akeem, hey, this guy's really good. He's popular with the fans. Maybe we might see him next year. And then that's the... Oh, sorry. Maybe we might see him every single week. And that's the problem that we have right now with golf. It's that we're never going to see these players every week until the majors. Because of the whole LIV and PGA fight, that the cover of the premise of this is not related to the whole premise of this thing. But consider that League of Legends and esports right now with the whole Saudi thing that's going to happen right now, it's a thing. I have to mention about it because it is a thing right now. That the PGA and the PIF right now not shaking hands, making an agreement, it's kind of sour me, man. It sours me. It sours the fans. It sours him right now. He even mentioned about it in his press conference, of course, that he just wants to see LIV and PGA shake hands, make an agreement, and make the golf good again. Because to see personalities like Bryson DeChambeau get engaged with the fans, having fun, and doing all of that, it's good for golf. It's really good for golf right now. So I'm just gonna say this off the bat right now. Please, I do not want this golf civil war to go on like this. It drives me crazy. It drives everybody else crazy. But big to the tip of the hat to Bryson DeChambeau on his amazing U.S. Open. Probably the best U.S. Open champion we have ever. Like, it mirrors like the 25 years ago with Payne Stewart, God rest his soul, winning it in exactly the same course, by the way. In exactly the same course that he won 25 years ago at the Pinehurst number 2. So,
dramatic finish, of course. Really great stuff. And I mean, that was something. That was absolutely something. Top of that off with the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese thing, which made the WNBA viewership look absolutely wild right now. And you got a pretty good Sunday right now. You got a pretty good weekend. Of course, I got Euros to watch right now. I'm recording it right now, and I just saw one of the best matches ever. Turkey and Georgia. My lord. Like, I know, listen, the 3-1 scoreline saying Turkey dominated the game, but do not even look at the 3-1 scoreline. That was a great game. My goodness, that was a great game. Probably the best game of the Euros so far. Portugal is going to play next, of course. Cristiano Ronaldo's here because why not? So I know all of these things I'm saying right now are just like not related to League of Legends, but I'm going to give you some context of what's going on in the weekend of sports. Just like the same thing in the weekend of esports, of course. So, thank you all for watching and listening. If you like it, please like it and subscribe. Keep the algorithm going, and make sure this channel is going to be well received by so many people. I get a lot of recommendations, of course. Got a lot of followers, like those followers of girls, I guess, but not my kind of stuff. Anyways, if you like and subscribe, please like and subscribe and all that stuff. And I will see you all later. Ciao, everyone.